everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, it's just gonna be a quick update based on my last video which I did talking about why I stopped beef only, and then I did a video after that on what I have been doing, and now it has been 6 months since I last stopped beef only earlier this year. I did it for 3 months. If you'd like to find out more about why I did it and my experience, you can check out the links in the description box below. I also indicated the video on why I stopped and some of the things that I have noticed. So in today's video, it's just going to be an update as I do get questions along the way about, since I stopped beef only, what have I noticed, and still like, what has been going on, what are the new things that I've tried ever since, and if I'm still eating lamb and so on. So all these questions, I've decided to just kind of give you an update on how it has been like for me since I stopped. So it's been 6 months. First thing that I would like to touch on is I'm still eating mainly beef, but of course my secondary meat option would be lamb. So I would say that majority of my meal always rotates around beef and lamb. I'm still on a higher protein, but I do cycle in higher fat days on a weekly basis. On top of that, I'm also still eating organ meats and seafood. I will have it at least once a week, but never beyond 3 times a week. Because like I said, I gravitate more towards beef and lamb, so that is actually the staple of my meals in that whole week. So one thing that I've noticed about after going beef only, and then it's been 6 months, with the variety that I'm having right now, sometimes I will just focus on lamb. I will sometimes incorporate some chicken, whether it's grilled seafood or raw seafood from sashimi. The variety somehow has decreased my appetite in a sense. Not majorly, of course, but I noticed that especially in the past month, whether or not it's around my cycle, I noticed that it goes both ways. I tend to get very satiated already on my second meal. If you don't follow along my journey, I do eat 2 to 3 meals a day. 3 meals, especially when I'm doing like intense workout. So I have a breakfast, lunch, dinner typically, right? But I noticed that in the past few weeks, even when on days that I do heavier workouts, I am not as hungry as before. My food volume has decreased, and to the point that I actually need to make sure that I'm hitting my calories and not, just to make sure that I'm not under eating. Is it because I'm doing higher protein? Not really, because my first meal of the day is always higher in fat. So another thing that I've noticed which contributed to this decrease in appetite is also because I'm not forcing myself to fast as much as before. I go on a very regular like 16-8 kind of fasting window, so 16 hours fasting, 8 hours feeding. Normally my meals start earlier in the day, so I have a breakfast, and then my second meal would always be around the lunch time. And that's when I noticed that actually I don't need a third meal, or I can't finish my food by the second meal. That is something that I have never really noticed before, but I'm just trying to kind of like summarize my experiment so far. I think it's the variety that I'm getting, the part where I'm incorporating organ meats at least once a week, having the different nutrient profiles from different types of animal, and I think that it's kind of signaling to my body that it's satiated, that it's enough. So maybe that's why I don't need the amount that I used to have before. Something else to consider is, of course, earlier part of the day is when I have my electrolytes. Not every day, but of course on days that I sweat a lot more with some of the high intensity interval training that I was doing. So those workout days, I would have my element electrolyte, and then I would actually drink all of the one full pack. So I think that maybe because of the fact that I get enough electrolytes earlier in the day, and that's when I don't really feel or maybe I feel more satiated, towards the end of the day. So that could be one factor as well. And then in terms of body composition, not much difference, I would say. Maybe just slight. I would say that during my strict beef only earlier this year, because I was kind of under eating without realizing it for a while, a few weeks actually. Usually it go hand in hand with me. Like if I start to see that my upper abs or my upper stomach is a lot more defined, and then I will start to have a bit of hair shedding, and that's when I know that I'm losing somewhat of a body fat. So that is usually a sign for me to like, okay, you know what, it's time to put things on pause. So I realized that with me, I can't really push myself to a very low body fat level, because that is when my hormones are going to get affected, and it's actually very common in a lot of ladies out there. So I can say that when I was doing beef only, because it's so simplified, there's no frills, nothing, really no risk of you getting any water retention inflammation, because you're just eating beef. And because I was on higher protein, I was working out as much as I did now or even before. I was probably under eating without realizing it. So I think I was a lot leaner at my upper body. Because well, if you follow along with me on Instagram, you will know that when it comes to my stomach area, my obliques are always a lot more obvious. It's because when I first started training many years ago, I was always working on my obliques, like without realizing. I would do like heavy dumbbell, like Russian twists, so I developed a very thick kind of waist right now. But the obliques are always there, and then when I overdo things, that's when I notice that the middle part of my stomach, the line, it becomes more obvious. And that's when it's always a sign for me to like dial things back down, like don't be so extreme, because the next thing that I know is I'm gonna lose my period. So I will never go into that stage ever again. And that's just me, okay? I'm not saying that this is for everyone or this happens to everyone. Yeah, so right now I think my body composition is more or less the same. If not, my back muscles are actually a lot more defined. But I wouldn't say it's because of the variety of the meat that I'm eating, or whether it's got to do with stopping beef only. It's simply because I have built a lot of strength. I have upped my training game. The workouts that I'm doing is a lot more volume than before, and I think then it relates to my energy level and my strength for my workout. So ever since I stopped, I don't feel as fatigued as before. I definitely have more energy to go to the gym, and I seldom encounter days where I'm like, you know what, today I need to really motivate myself to go to the gym. It's not the case. So more energy for sure. But I must say that in this past 6 months, I did introduce somewhat of a pre-workout, meaning to say it's still within the carnivore, it's still within the carnivore realm. I introduce some honey pre-workout, and sometimes I would try, to incorporate blueberries post-workout. So this is just to fill back my glycogen stores. It's because the workouts that I do sometimes are quite intense. It's glycolytic, it's fast, it's very quick. So I do need that quick use of glucose as energy. So which is why I use things like honey and blueberry. So what did I notice? Nothing much, but I would say that in digestion wise, of course, it's not as pure, as smooth as when I was doing beef only, that I must say. But digestive enzyme supplement has helped me in a way. So when I know that there are the days that, if I see my workout plan And I know that that particular day is going to be like a lot of volume training, which is heavy weights, a lot of repetition. I know that I cannot just rely on, being fasted, tapping into my body fat to instantly be used as energy. I don't think that would function very well on me. So which is why I decided to use somewhat of a honey or blueberry, around my workout. And I did have somewhat of a, not really a breakout, just like 1 zit or 2 zit. But then again, it's not something very major like I had before, like those very, very like intense cystic like acne. So I can't say that it's because of the honey, and I can't say it's because of the blueberry, but it could be because I don't really see this when I was just doing beef only. So that is something to monitor. There's always the give and take, like if you want to utilize something for a different purpose, there might be trade-offs to that. So for me, it's not too bad. And it's also because I'm no longer craving things that are sweet or like carby. So that's when I know that I can use things like honey and blueberry around my workout. So if you are still having issues like insulin resistance, you have cravings, it's not a good time to introduce that, because that would spike a lot of your addictions and craving. So heal first before you attempt to go outside of the carnivore zone, obviously. Something else that I noticed after my experience with beef only, now that it's been 6 months, I've been having a lot of like baby hairs growing around, I don't know if you can see it, it's like all over. Yeah, the thing that I noticed with after this 6 months of having variety of meat, doing more organ meats, and obviously knowing when to zone out, finding time for myself, meditating, and really just avoiding stress, my hair shedding has stopped. So that is something that I'm so thankful for, because you never appreciate something until you start to lose it. So when I was doing beef only, I think it was about the 2.5 or the 3rd month is when I start to see like more hair shedding when I'm washing my hair. They say that it's normal, but I think I was definitely losing more than 50 pieces of hair a day. I didn't really go and count it, but you can kind of gauge, right? But now my hair growth has been so fast in the past 3 months, and it already stopped shedding, because whenever I try to do this, right, when I try to do this, hair will be coming out like a few strands, like 3-4 strands. But now when I do it, right, nothing comes out. So that's when I know that my hair has stabilized. I'm doing something right for sure in terms of my nutrition. Interesting, because my hairstylist actually joked around and said that my eyebrows are now so close to my hairline. Yeah, so I'm thankful for that. So yeah, I have been doing something right by incorporating more variety, organ meats, seafood, and then I think the biggest of them all is I make sure that I'm always eating enough to support my workout, my lifestyle. And lastly is finding time for myself to just peace out. I started journaling, I started doing some form of very short meditation exercise, just breathing exercises. That has helped a lot too. So some quick takeaways if you would like to do beef only. I would still recommend it for to people who have serious autoimmune issues, and like for example, if they always have indigestion, they always just don't do well with the different kinds of food that they're eating. It's always, beef only is a very powerful tool for doing an elimination diet. You're eating nothing but beef, so, and beef do not trigger any allergies, so you could slowly reintroduce foods and find out what are your triggers. So it is a good way to eliminate things that might trigger you. I wouldn't do it long term, I would not recommend to go beyond 6 months, 3 to 6 months. At least for me, I lasted for 3 months. The people that I know lasted for 6 months. Even some of the veterans out there, the carnivore, in the carnivore space, they have been doing carnivore for quite a while, mostly beef, but they do sometimes eat pork, chicken, very small percentage. It's mostly still beef, but then again, it's not just strictly beef only. I don't think it's sustainable to just eat beef only. Of course, if you're doing a higher protein ratio, then even more you have to be careful, because depending where you're at, if you are only eating lean meat and you don't really cycle in your fats, I'm not sure where you're going to get most of your nutrition from, because a lot of the nutrients are stored in the fats itself. My third tip is to, if you're doing higher protein and you're doing beef only, let's say it's for body composition purpose, do it smartly though. You do need to plan a day where you focus on eating just higher fat ratio. This is good for your hormone. This is good to balance things out, and at least you're not depriving your body from energy, because after all, protein is not a good source of energy. Your body still needs to convert the protein, using gluconeogenesis. It's an expensive process. We don't really know how it functions in the body, whether it's good long term. So to put your body in a constant stage of converting protein into energy, I don't think it's very ideal. So you do need to factor in the days that where you cycle in your energy source, so be it from fats or carbs. Lastly, I'm a big believer of organ meats. At least for me, I have been eating it for 2.5 years. I've been enjoying it. It stabilized my hormone cycle. I feel great with it. I have long nails because of it, strong long nails because of it. So organ meats, definitely it's important to have, in my opinion, and you should at least cycle it in once a week. I think that is quite a practical way to approach things, just to make sure that you are covered at all ends. I think that is always the safest way. So yeah guys, that's it for the update. Something new for me to share with you is that I'll be going back to Malaysia for a month. I haven't seen my family for 2 years now, and finally things are getting better where we can actually go back to our home country. So I cannot wait for that. So by the time that this video is posted, I'm already in Malaysia. Yeah, so it's gonna be quite fun. I hope you stay tuned to some of my new videos, because I'll be recording what I eat there and how I sustain my carnivore lifestyle, even when I'm not back at my home here. Treat it as like travel tips, how to stay carnivore when you're traveling. I hope that is going to be a fun video to do. It's going to be challenging because it's a new environment in a way, because I haven't been back for 2 years. So yeah, stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.